The Nords, also known as the Children of the Sky, are a race of tall, strong, barbarian-esque humans who boast strong resistances to the cold and frost magics, and make their home in the freezing province of Skyrim, a land I'm sure you know well. These Nords are known to be some of the finest warriors in all of Tamriel and have a deep love of mead, music, poetry, and also dying, interestingly enough. Hello my fellow hirelings of House Telvanni! I'm Neloth, and here are 6 facts you must know about everyone's favorite race of barbarians. Fact number 1. The Nords were not the first to settle in Skyrim, nor were they always called Nords. They were once called the Atmorans, the first men, who are not just the ancestors of the Nords, but also the Imperials and Bretons as well. Pretty much all humans except the Redguards. Anyways, the Atmorans lived on a continent north of Tamriel called Atmora, which was said to be green and full of life. However, due to constant civil wars and an event known as Frostfall, where Atmora was freezing over and being placed in a permanent winter, many Nords migrated to Skyrim, which was originally home to a race of elves known as the Snow Elves, who would eventually become the Falmer we see in Skyrim. One of these migrants was a great Atmoran chieftain known as Ysgramor, who we will talk about a bunch in this video. Fact number 2. The Nords, or rather Atmorans, were responsible for destroying all traces of the Snow Elves and basically exterminating their entire race. See, when the Atmorans migrated to Skyrim, they originally lived in peace and harmony with the Snow Elves. However, tensions between the races slowly grew and eventually erupted in violence, but it is unknown who instigated this violence first. But this bloodshed eventually culminated in the Snow Elves destroying the first human city of Sarthal and slaughtering almost every single human inside, except for Ysgramor, his sons Ingol and Ilgar, and potentially a few others who fled back to Atmora. The destruction of Sarthal was referred to as the Night of Tears, and while many speculate as to why the Snow Elves destroyed it in the first place, it likely had something to do with the Atmorans possessing a powerful relic called the Eye of Magnus that they discovered or possibly stole from the Snow Elves. However, Ysgramor did not stay in Atmora for long, as he gathered the legendary 500 companions and sailed back to Skyrim to systematically slaughter all of the Snow Elves. Those who were not killed by the Atmorans begged for safe harbor with the Dwemer, another race of elves who lived underground and were technologically superior to almost everyone else. The Dwemer agreed to give them refuge in exchange for their eyesight, which many desperate Snow Elves gave into. However, they slowly devolved over generations. And the Falmer we see now in Skyrim are the result of this bargain. Though some Snow Elves, like Gelebor, survived into the 4th era, and it is possible that others fled to isolated regions or other realms of existence. Fact number 3. Unlike what we see in Skyrim, the Nords did not always worship the Imperial 9 divines and actually had their own unique Nordic pantheon, where many divines had different names, like Kinnereth being Kine, Stendar being Stoon, and so on, though the goddesses Mara and Dibella held the same names. And unlike the Imperial Pantheon, where Akatosh was the chief of the 9, the Nord god Kine, known as the Goddess of Storm, who led the dead Nords to their afterlife of Sovngarde, was seen as their chief deity. Kine is also seen as the goddess who bestowed men with the voice, or the thu'um, the same powers used by the last Dragonborn, and the dragons that ruled over the men at this point in time. Akatosh was actually known as Alduin the World Eater, or the Twilight God, and was less revered and more feared, with Nords praying for Alduin to stay away and sacrificing animals in the hopes of delaying his return. The Nords also worshipped the dead gods Shor and Soon, Shor being the Nord version of Lorcan who sided with the humans after the creation of the world, and Soon being the god of trials against adversity and was the shield thane to Shor. And unlike what the Stormcloaks would have you believe, the Nords didn't even start worshipping Talos, an imperial god, until sometime well into the 4th era. Fact number 4. While many Nords are seen as axe-wielding barbarians and many modern Nords despise magic, the ancient Nords actually revered and respected magic, with some Nords becoming some of the greatest magic users of all time, like the Archmage Shalador and his wife Ulfsild the Evergreen. These Nords who were gifted mages were referred to as clever men or clever women and used magic involving runes and totems called the clever craft. Many clever men were even numbered amongst Ysgramor's 500 companions and often served as advisors or battle mages. The clever craft was even used by Junal, or Julianos, the god of magic, obviously, but also used by Shor as well, even using his clever magic to create the realm of Sovngarde. Clever magic was once so revered, it is likely why Shalador created the College of Winterhold in the first place, so that Nords of the clever craft could learn and study. The clever craft began to die out by the Second Era, and magic entirely became despised by the Nords after the Oblivion Crisis. Fact number 5. Many Nords often wear the color blue, either in their clothes and armor or as war paint, with the Stormcloaks especially using this color. Well, the reason why Nords love blue so much is because after Ysgramor destroyed almost all of the Snow Elves, he and his army then waged war against the giants and slaughtered armies of them, with Ysgramor killing the powerful giant chieftain named Sinmur with his legendary battle axe Wuthrad. But Ysgramor didn't just kill regular giants, he also killed many frost giants as well, and he slew so many of them that he was constantly covered in their blue blood. The Nords made such a target of frost giants that it's why they always avoid the more populated areas of Skyrim, and are far rarer than normal giants. So next time you see a Stormcloak or any Nord with blue armor or war paint, just know that it symbolizes frost giant blood, and it is out of respect for the great Ysgramor. Fact number 6. While the thu'um, or the voice, is a core part of Nordic culture and history, the reason why very few people wield this power is because 1. Unless you are a Dragonborn, it takes literal years to even learn the most basic shouts, making it far more difficult and time-consuming to learn, unlike a blade or spell. And 2 is because of one man named Jurgen Windcaller, also known as Jurgen the Calm. See, in the First Era, the Nords actually conquered lots of territory within the province of Morrowind, home of the Dunmer or Dark Elves. However, in what is called the War of the First Council, where the Nords were driven out by the Dunmer and Dwemer alliance in a disastrous and humiliating defeat, Jurgen tried to understand how his people, who were so strong in the voice, could fail. And after 7 years of meditation, he concluded that the Nord gods had punished the Nords for their arrogant misuse of the voice, as Jurgen believed this gift was meant to be used for the glory and worship of the gods, not for the glory of men nor for conquest and power. After coming to this conclusion, he attempted to convince the other tongues, or wielders of the voice, to his way of thinking. However, these tongues were not easily convinced, and so Jurgen ended up battling 17 tongues at once. This battle lasted for 3 days, and in that time Jurgen supposedly swallowed every shout these tongues could throw at him like they were sweet rolls. And on the 3rd day, all 17 tongues were on the floor, exhausted and tired, while Jurgen stood strong. And so the tongues were convinced into following Jurgen's philosophy called the Way of the Voice. And with the exception of those with the dragon blood, those who learn the voice often become peaceful monks called Greybeards, swearing off violence, and living near the throat of the world, the tallest mountain in Skyrim, in a monastery built by Jurgen himself called High Hrothgar. Though there are some Greybeards that will leave the Way of the Voice and become exiled, like Ulfric Stormcloak. And that's all I wrote. 6 simple facts about the Nords that everyone should know. This was a very short video, and if it does well, I'd like to make more short fact-based videos like this alongside my longer, more intensive videos. But before ending this video, a big shout out to my channel members, and they are... Mirak, The Proud Prince, Milani Stilla, Carson Friday, Dalton Rupert, Cosmo, Jorinish Evento, Serene Molly, Doc Smoothie, Shinigami James, Gretums, Winter Raven, Vivid Void, Argentus, Metal Health, Blancfall, Henry O'Dim, The Space Hamster, Sovdark, Gillert, Grud, Ranger Squad, Luxie, Abdullah the Goat, Caden, Kirill Gaming, Flexi, Grabowski, Bane Hellborn, Katie Harper, The Ember Raven, Jorinaris Targaryen, Awea Ann, Elia J, Drink Tea With Me, Tonic, 24 Seconds, Foodening, Pillsbury Drew Boy, Dustbite Opossum, Saver, Bunny Girl Gamer, The Snowy Imp, Lavender Loves Underground, Layla Spellwind, Hellacious Hustler, and Davis Herndon. So with all that being said, make sure to like the like button, like the subscribe button, and like the bell notification down below to be updated on future videos. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.